First, a new series with a new look at art. Sister Wendy Beckett shares her expert, if unorthodox, opinions on the painting world.
This has been my home for over 20 years. My caravan may not look much, but it is my haven, where I can be alone with God. And one of the ways for me of looking at God is by looking at art. Now I spend several hours every day looking at art and writing about it. All great art deals with human emotions and takes us deep into somebody else's world so we can learn more about ourselves. Leaving my life of solitude, even for a short time, is a very big thing. But I haven't had the opportunity to see many paintings in the flesh, so I'm going on an Odyssey to see some of the greatest art in various cities around Britain. I hope to share with you the impact that they have when I meet them face to face. I'm beginning my Odyssey in Liverpool. I can't help thinking this is a wise choice. This city is so full of galleries and museums that I can't really go wrong. But there's one place I can't miss, and that's the Walker Art Gallery. The Walker has many treasures, but I've come today to see one great marvel in particular. Two, really, perhaps three. I must confess that I've a passion for Poussin, and I wondered if I could share it, because I will never have a better opportunity than with this very great painting. It's one of the great love stories of antiquity, how Phocion, the Athenian general, was unjustly condemned to death, and worse than death, because they burnt him and scattered his ashes, which meant in their mythology that his spirit would never rest. And his wife came secretly, scooped up the ashes, here you can see her, put them in a bowl, put in water, and swallowed them, so that he would have a tomb. She would be his tomb, his living tomb. Notice how afraid her companion is, terrified they're going to be caught and punished, as of course they might well be. And the whole picture displays to us the great might of authority, all these great stately buildings, so splendid, so strong, so upright, so perpendicular, so full of masculine power, the rule of law which doesn't take much account of the human heart. And the world goes on unchanged and unheeding. It's a splendid portrayal, a moving, poignant portrayal of the eternal conflict between the individual and the state, between the human heart seeking what is right and the great authoritarian powers of the government imposing law. The Poussin can be called a great icon of true love. There's another picture that I want to see that shows just its opposite, the sad inadequacy of lust. This is the most haunting depiction I know of the story of Salome and John the Baptist. You remember Salome, the dancing girl, who wanted his head on a plate? Well, Guercino is the only artist who has tried to show why she wanted that head on a plate. And here you can see why. She longs for him, she loves him, or at least desires him, and he rejects her utterly. It's a haunting picture of one person yearning and another person saying, no. I don't think it's a very saintly attitude, but clearly he feels happy in it because he sees her as temptation, the other that he has to reject. And then you have the strange wonder of who really is in prison here. Is it John, manacled, naked except for his cloak, shut up in a cell? Or is it the wealthy Princess Salome with all her jewels and her freedoms, who's shut up in a prison of her own desire? Look at the hands, his hands so free, so relaxed, so at peace, and hers so clenched, so tight. And look at the witty way in which Guercino has made us wonder who really was beheaded here, because it looks here as if Salome's beheaded. She's lost her head, is what he's trying to tell her, lost her head in a desire for what she cannot have. So that's what the picture is about. Where is freedom? Does self-will imprison us far more than any stone walls and bars could ever do?
Contemporary artists also can show us profound and moving images. They're different from the old masters, of course, and challenge us in a different way. The Walker have an impressive David Hockney, Peter getting out of Nick's pool, a very personal title, and that actually is the reason why this is one of his important pictures. Hockney's always good when he's dealing with things that matter to him, and Peter and Nick were two of his closest friends.
In fact, he's dealing here with the three things he loves best. That's water just gently moving, the sunlight pouring over the simplicities of a Californian landscape, and a beautiful young man. And what's very interesting about Hockney is that he suddenly discovered, when he was still a student, that art only works if it comes from love. It was no good him deciding, say, for the highest political motives, that he'd paint dole queues in Bradford in the rain. Just wouldn't work for him. What worked for him was painting beautiful young men in sunlight, full of joy. I must confess I'm not myself a great fan of Hockney's. It's not all that easy to say why, because clearly this is a splendid work. I think perhaps I find it a little bit too diagrammatic. Perhaps I feel he's got the world too intellectually ordered here for me to wholly respond to it as the real world. But I don't want to end on a minor note, because this really is a major Hockney and I get great pleasure out of it.
Among Liverpool's many galleries is the Tate of the North. They've a fascinating Stanley Spencer exhibition, and this will give me a very good opportunity to take a long, hard look at his work and try and make up my mind about it.
Well, this is a fair example of a strong Spencer. Now, I too think it's a strong Spencer. In fact, I can leave out the qualifications. It's a strong picture. I mean, look at the wonderful wallpaper. Those lovely curlicues on the bed. The wonderful sheets. I love his hair too, all the glistening strands. You're very proud of his hair, was Stanley Spencer. And her hair, he's a bit unconvincing about her head hair, but her pubic hair is lovely and fluffy. And he's painted the body so differently too. He's these two weird contrasts. This sort of corpse-like libidity below, and those sort of hectic flushes meant to show emotional excitement, I presume, above. The woman is Patricia Priest, the upper-class girl who tantalized him and taunted him, all of which he lapped up somehow. and for whom he finally divorced his wife. His dearly loved Hilda, whom he went on loving to the end of his days and writing to every day. They had one night together, Patricia having insisted that he make over the deeds of the house to her, and then a goodbye, Stanley, and welcome back, live-in girlfriend. He's not spread out for his delectation. Patricia's completely indifferent to him. Of course, to some extent, that was the attraction. I must admit, I find her very unappealing, and you wonder where the elegance was, perhaps in the hip bone. Here's quite an interesting instance, actually, of an artist painting what subliminally he knows well, but what intellectually he does not know. At some level, Stanley knows they can never be mates. His art understands, he doesn't understand. But having said all that, and expressed admiration for many of the qualities here, especially that wallpaper, which I really think is lovely, I'm left feeling unsatisfied. And yet, I can't think why I should be.
Next week, my Odyssey takes me to Cambridge.
And that's at 9:15 next Friday here on 2.
Slapstick is the most ancient and enduring tradition of physical comedy. We seem to take a constant delight in seeing people hurt and humiliated by accidents and acts of violence.
Funny business. 8:05 Sunday on 2.
Rowan Atkinson demonstrates the art of visual comedy in the new issue of Radio Times, which also includes complete listings for all television and